Ladies and gentlemen, shall we start with your permission? Wow, that's really amazing, Delhi. I'm really loving this because I've been doing programs with India Sea Trade for a decade now. And whenever I ask, shall we begin, there is just silence. And this is the first time we've got an applause. So that's a wonderful way to start. Thank you so much. Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Deepa Rahulishwar, and I'm going to be your host today. It's an absolute delight to be here in Delhi with NISA once again on, of course, what we've all been waiting for, the prestigious NISA Annual Business Forum 2022. Can we hear it, please? This business forum is organized by Northern India Steamer Agents Association and managed by India Sea Trade. So before we move any further, I know it's really not right to, bring out any bad news right at the beginning of the program, but I cannot help reminding all of us here that we've had our little bit of, shall I say, the honeymoon period, the last 2 months without COVID-19 or trying to forget about COVID-19, but then now again there are bits and pieces of news coming out that there are a little bit of cases. There's a surge of cases in Delhi, etc. So let's not entirely forget the protocols of COVID-19. Let's have the masks at least in our hands so that, all right? So that we don't entirely forget. So let's just feed the ego of COVID-19, tell us, we know you're still there, okay? But let's not, on a serious note, we don't want to go back sick. So let's all just be a little careful, okay? On that note, let's get started once again. बहुत खुशी के साथ आप सबको मैं स्वागत करना चाहूँगी to the much awaited NISA Annual Business Forum 2022. मैं हूँ दीपा राहुलीश्वर और मैं हूँ आपकी host. Thank you. So, let me tell you something about NISA. I'm sure all of you know about it, but still. The Northern India Steamer Agents Association, more commonly known as NISA, was formed on the 30th of December, 1985. It's as old as me. As containerized EXIM trade grew, so did the traffic and development of new inland container depots. With this, the associated problems also grew. It was against this backdrop that a group of agents of some of the main container shipping lines felt the need of an association which could address their problems with the various agencies, service providers, vendors, and government authorities. NISA's main objective, ladies and gentlemen, is to work closely with the government authorities involved in the EXIM trade, Ministry of Shipping, container train operators, customs, CFS, ICDs, and various terminals for the betterment of the EXIM traffic to and from the Northern India ICDs, which affects various member lines and the trade in general. NISA is a non-commercial institution for the facilitation of EXIM trade. NISA has been actively working for the cause of the shipping agencies and allied industries. It has represented many a burning issue of the trade to the concerned government departments and has sought solutions. NISA Business Forum, organized by NISA, began in 2010, coinciding with its 25th anniversary. Since then, it has been an annual affair. It has been instrumental in initiating the much-needed dialogue between the government, shipping, and logistics communities in North India. Well, what is this year's theme of this annual business forum? The theme is intermodal connectivity, the big picture ahead. As the name suggests, this year's theme revolves around the opportunities and challenges as the government and industry stakeholders work together in furthering the smooth movement of cargo across various modes of transportation. A lot has been talked about the opportunities, benefits in various seminars and conferences in the recent past, including seamless connectivity, greater efficiency, and reduced logistics costs. But the underlying challenges in developing the required infrastructure are still a matter of grave concern that needs to be addressed as quickly as possible. PM Gati Shakti project, the flagship project of Government of India in developing multimodal infrastructure, is yet to take off and show us its real potential. Having said that, the trade is already abuzz about how it will address these challenges and the impact it will create in the years to come. This year's NISA Business Forum focuses right on this. The two highly focused sessions today will bring together some of the exemplary thought leaders from various segments of the logistics and shipping industry to talk, deliberate, and share insights with all of us. Key takeaways from this forum are: learn how multimodal logistics in India will be impacted by Gati Shakti project. 2. Get deep insights into bringing more investments and more private participation into multimodal logistics. 3. Understand how shippers' supply chains are transforming in the post-COVID era and the impact it will create on multimodal logistics infrastructure. And lastly, get to know the latest insights about how logistics service providers are gearing up to provide greater value proposition by improving efficiencies and reducing costs. Northern India Steamers Agents Association and its executive members deeply thank our esteemed sponsors without whom this event would never have been possible. Let me take this opportunity to thank our sponsors: APM Terminals, Container Corporation of India, DP World, Gateway District Parks, Trans World Terminals, CMA CGM Logistics Park, Dadri, Adani Ports and SEZ, All Cargo Logistics Park, Rajsico, Rajasthan Small Industries Corporation, Pristine Logistics, Hind Terminals, Delhi International Cargo Terminal, Odex India Solutions Private Limited, Majha Transport, India Links, Distribution Logistics Infrastructure, and SCM Express for supporting this initiative. Once again, a loud round of applause for our sponsors. And now, ladies and gentlemen, to welcome the delegates and delivering opening remarks for this wonderful evening, I would like to welcome Captain D. Mishra, President of Northern India Steamer Agents Association, to kindly come on stage. Sir, may I please invite you on stage with a lot of happiness and pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, over to Captain D. Mishra.
Thank you, Dipa. Good afternoon, distinguished guests, business leaders, stakeholders, ladies and gentlemen. I take this opportunity to welcome each one of you to the 12th edition of NISA Business Forum, which we are having in the physical mode. I thank all of you for having participated in this year's event. Let me begin by wishing that 2022 brings to all of us fresh hope and joy, and pray that everything will be normal once again after a very turbulent 2020 and 2021. It is time to return to normalcy with courage and conviction, of course with caution. India's exports crossed the $400 billion mark for the first time, riding on the back of post-pandemic economic recovery and rising competitiveness of India's goods globally. India's mercantile exports touch a record $480 billion in 21-22, exceeding the government's target by about 5% and recording a 40% growth over the previous year. Exports touched $40.38 billion in March from $34 billion a year earlier, led by robust growth in petroleum products, engineering, gems and jewelry, chemicals, and pharmaceuticals. India has exported $480 billion for the first time in its history. This is a remarkable feat by any stretch of imagination. Credit for this mammoth achievement should go to all the exporters, big and small, and the government for framing policies and schemes aimed at supporting manufacturers and producers. We service providers can also take pride in playing a significant role in achieving this export milestone. India has further set up an ambitious target of $500 billion export for the current fiscal as per the government sources. So that's a job well done, more so because the pandemic has caused immeasurable disruptions to the logistics sector. Logistics as a backbone of trade and commerce rose to the challenges by adopting technological and digital interventions to smoothly move goods and products. The key role played by technology and digitalization goes to prove the point that these two aspects are here to stay. There is no shying away from adapting to technology and digitalization, and anybody who chooses to do so will be doing so at their own peril. In the post-COVID environment, improving the predictability of supply chain has become the focal point. In today's logistics scenario, systems will allow management of the overall supply chain, optimization and design of the network, and the ability to do that with the appropriate level of customization. Technology building blocks and integration will just not be enablers, but differentiators in the future. This is where artificial intelligence, machine learning, and analytics come into the picture. Machine learning can be a game changer in optimizing and automating route planning. Machine learning algorithms can analyze large historical data sets and help business predict risk, quickly identify inefficient routes at the planning stage itself, reduce delays, and generate accurate ETAs. Remodeling the global as well as local supply chain in the post-COVID world is essential. There is an increasing need for system upgradation across the entire supply chain, which should include automatic tracking and alerts, enhanced navigational abilities, real-time digital tracking, and route optimization. The pandemic has also turned the spotlight on warehousing as a logistics fulfillment activity. Customers now want to move inventory as closer to demand as possible and also improve their reach. The COVID era has established the fact that having no inventory is as bad as having it at the wrong place. Inventory in the right place is very important. Being close to customers is equally important. This goes beyond just infrastructure and access. There is likely to be a much sharper focus on quality of service, optimization, and time-defined service levels. Technology will be a key differentiator here as well. The growth in omnichannel networks is yet to another positive fallout of the pandemic-induced disruptions. Companies are trying to figure out how to operate the inventory in a far more efficient way in the field and drive optimization through omnichannel models for distribution so that they can use the same inventory and support as well as physical delivery. Adding to this, to the increased focus and adoption of multimodal logistics, the pandemic has shown the need and opportunity to leverage rail, road, sea, and waterways a lot more effectively. In key markets such as auto, farm sectors, we are witnessing a major change. Thanks to the increased focus and support from the Indian Railways, such as the Kisan Rail and the Ro-Ro service being offered. So multimodal is emerging as a bigger focus area, and it is important for the country's efforts to bring down the logistics cost in the long run. There is absolutely no doubt that India must become much more multimodal using waterways, air, rail, and road to achieve cost-efficient transportation. Throughout the pandemic, most companies have realized the need to improve resilience, real-time visibility, and end-to-end management of the same, which will be critical to support export growth. The shift will require accelerated regulatory support and infrastructure development and a technology ecosystem to enable the same, some of which have already been rolled out by the government. For instance, our Honorable Prime Minister launched the 100 lakh crore National Master Plan for the multimodal connectivity last year that seeks to develop infrastructure to reduce logistics costs and boost the economy. The Gati Shakti National Master Plan, a digital platform, will bring 16 ministries, including railways and roadways, together for integrated planning and coordinated infrastructure connectivity projects to overcome the time-consuming silo-based approach followed for long. Gati Shakti targets to cut logistics costs, increase cargo handling capacity, and reduce the turnaround time. The plan aims to lend more power and speed to various projects by connecting all concerned departments on one platform. PM has assured the industry that developing is not possible without quality infrastructure, and the government has now resolved to develop in a holistic manner. Gati Shakti joins different departments for the coordinated development of projects from road to railways, aviation to agriculture, etc. The Indian Railways, on its part, is looking to invest 50,000 crores in the next 5 years to develop 500 multimodal cargo terminals under the PM's Gati Shakti program. Gati Shakti Master Plan cuts down logistics costs and enhances connectivity in the country. Under the plan, the government aims to enhance the cargo handling capacity of the ports and increase cargo movement in all national waterways. The plan's aims to achieve cargo movement of 95 million tons by 24-25 on all national waterways from 74 million tons in 2020. We have with us today guests from Niti Aayog, Ministry of Commerce, Indian Ports Association, and I'm sure they'll be talking in detail on the Gati Shakti Master Plan from a Government of India perspective. The government is also working on the National Logistics Policy, giving special emphasis to pandemic-like situation to promote seamless movements of goods across the country. The implementation of LLP is expected to significantly augment investment in the sector. The industry today is at the cusp of technology-driven solutions, infrastructure, and skilled resources, which in the forthcoming period will result in greater efficiency in operations, thereby ensuring better quality of services and customer management. Logistics cost, which is currently at 13 to 14% of GDP in India, can be brought down by leveraging the Unified Logistics Interface Platform, ULIP, by bringing all modes of transportation under a single window by connecting all logistics stakeholders spread across multiple ministries, enterprises, and associations. ULIP will be a game changer for the Indian logistics landscape by assisting just-in-time inventory management, cargo movement, monitoring, identification of cheaper logistics modes, eliminating tedious documentation processes, and improve international competitiveness. ULIP converges and integrates 24 systems, 75 APIs, and 1454 fields across ports, shipping, waterways, railways, civil aviation, road transport, and highways, DGFT, and of course, customs. The Shipping Ministry has initiated the Green Port project for reducing carbon emissions of the maritime industry, excluding military operations, which contributes to 1% of the overall transport sector emissions. As per ministry sources, the project is aimed at making the industry fuel efficient and a cleaner mode of transportation. The plan involves implementation of sustainable practices in terminal design, development, and operation, preparation of environmental management and monitoring plan, regulation of the discharge of effluents in the harbor water, and minimization through Swachh Bharat initiative. Large plantation activities around port area falls under the Green Port project. The uses of renewable power will be promoted for port activities by installation of solar power plants, rooftop solar panels, wind farms, floating solar panels, etc. Now, with certainty, can we assume that shipping, logistics, and transportation are going to be different than what it traditionally used to be. COVID-19 uncertainties indicates that the industry is resilient enough to make a relatively faster recovery and emerge stronger. The logistics industry is one of the key pillars of the economy and has played a crucial role in this time. Going forward, we envisage the logistics industry to strengthen on the back of gradually improving domestic demand and a revival. As we look to future and a more Atmanirbhar India, the logistics sector must emerge as an enabler to the economy by accelerating productivity for our customers. Carriers have taken bold steps to meet the inventory challenges. The ICDs in the north have a reason to rejoice as far as connectivity to Gateway Port is concerned. Indian Railways have started to run export container trains as freight express from many Concor and private terminals to Mundra and Pipavav Gateway ports directly and via transshipment hubs with transit assurance since last year. This assured transit service is in export stream have been possible after commissioning of Western DFC from Khatuvas to New Palanpur, from where it will lead to Mundra and Pipavav. This has so far benefited the entire export-import trade from the northern hinterland. This project of the Indian Railways will decongest the heavily saturated road network and reduce the transit time from northern hinterland to the western gateway ports and vice versa. The transit time to Mundra Pipavav has already come down. The project completion date is now planned for March next year. We have with us today Mr. N. Srinivas, Director Operations and Business Development, Dedicated Freight Corridor Corporation of India Limited. And I'm sure all of us present here are more than eager to hear him out. The Indian Railways have drawn up a national rail plan seeking to create a future-ready railway system capable of meeting the passenger demand and increase the modal share of railways in freight to 40 to 45%, from the current 26 to 27%. The target of 40 to 45% model share of our railways is necessary for the perspective of sustainability and also from the national commitments made globally for reducing emission levels as per the economic survey. However, the recent decision by the Ministry of Railways to discontinue the 5% discount in haulage charge per TU for movement of loaded containers as well as to reduce the discount for movement of empty containers and empty flat wagons to 15% from 25% in haulage charge per TU from 1st May 2022 will be a dampener. It won't be healthy for the trade. Post-COVID, the already low rail coefficient was showing a nascent recovery. There was some shift from road to rail. This increase in both loaded and empty haulage would again shift the balance in favor of road. The empty running of flats would also go up, leading to non-utilization of assets, an issue which the policymakers should have kept in mind. Ladies and gentlemen, let me remind all of you that the world is yet to recover fully from the pandemic. As a matter of fact, strikes and fresh outbreaks of dreaded virus are pulverizing container terminals in Shanghai, the world's busiest container port, raising congestion and causing more chaos and the pain in the global logistics chain. India is also bound to be hit by the reverberations from what is happening in Shanghai. Let us hope and pray that the pain is not too much for India to bear. Today we have with us a distinguished panel and they'll be talking on different aspects. I'm sure the discussion is going to be very enlightening and even thought-provoking for all of us. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Captain, for this amazing and very reassuring and encouraging welcome address. So we have some technical work happening right here. Okay, now that's fine. Okay, so now we'll move on to the keynote address for the day. I'd like to welcome Mr. Sanjay Swarup, Director, International Marketing and Operations of Container Corporation of India Limited, on stage to deliver the keynote address. Ladies and gentlemen, having joined the IRTS in 1990, Mr. Sanjay Swarup served the Indian Railways for about 13 years in various roles. Earlier, he had also worked as Chief General Manager of ICDs at Tughlakabad, Dadri and Pithampur. Now, as a Director on the Board of Concor, he is managing 85% of the company's business, including marketing, operations, infrastructure development, and strategic planning. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Mr. Sanjay Swarup to deliver the keynote address.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, I would like to thank NISA for giving me an opportunity to present my views. We are meeting physically after 2 years, so it's a welcome change from the virtual mode that we have been doing for 2 years. The topic is intermodal logistics, the road ahead. What I can say from my experience, road ahead is very bright and very good for intermodal logistics. And there have been a lot of technological upgradations and government support for infrastructure creation for intermodal logistics, which has greatly benefited the trade, and it will continue to flourish the intermodal logistics in the coming years. Like we all know that high axle, if we talk of movement by road, high axle load trucks have been procured, they are running. Plus, there is a lot of stress on creation of expressways, port connectivity linkages are also improved a lot over the years. They have been continuously getting upgraded. If we talk about rail, the real game changer has been the dedicated freight corridor, DFC. Director DFC is here and he will be presenting detailed, inputs he will be giving in next session. So DFC has been a real game changer for intermodal logistics. Just to give you a small snapshot, the railways has started running timetable trains, freight express they are called, give predictability to shippers about exports, which is very key factor for their connecting vessels. So DFC has been is playing a very important role for giving predictability and for timely movement of freight express trains. DFC has started running trains at 100 km per hour, double stack trains on Western DFC, and the distance of Katwas to Palanpur, 600 kilometers, is getting covered in less than 8 hours, which is a real game changer if we think of logistics. Then the trains from NCR area to Mundra are reaching through DFC, if we are running, in less than 30 hours average we are getting, which we are not getting through road and any other mode. It's really commendable, and it's revolutionizing the logistics. And we are waiting that Nhava Sheva should come also on DFC very soon. So that will be the real predictability for exporters and importers. The train leaving Delhi 9 o'clock today in the morning will reach Nhava Sheva 9 o'clock tomorrow within 24 hours. That is our dream of exporters, which I think is going to be fulfilled very soon. Director DFC will tell when. So let us wait for his presentation. Then there has been a technological upgradation in rolling stock also. Rolling stock also has seen if I talk about railway wagons, rolling stock I mean railway wagons. From BLC, which were having an axle load of 20.3 tons only, it increased to BLCM, that is 22 ton axle load. And now another wagon has come, BLCS, which is having axle load of 25 tons. So we can have a payload increase from 60 tons to 80 tons, which is a very almost 33% increase in payload, which is helping to do more and more double stacking and ultimately passing on benefit to end customers. So this has been a very good change. And I am told on DFC, even from 25 tons in the near future, they will be able to run trains of having axle load of wagons having axle load of 32.5 tons after some years. So that will really boost all the, I think a lot of traffic will shift from road to rail, which will be ultimately beneficial for the country. And these are the, some of the inputs that technologically inputs and infrastructure upgradation, which has been done by the various container train operators and Government of India. Plus we have longer trains on DFC. Like at present, train running single stack can carry only 90 TUs, whereas on DFC we are able to run 1,500 meter long train, so it can carry 400 TUs. So that's a real, upgradation and improvement in logistics, which is going to benefit the trade. One more point I want to stress is the use of information technology, IT, in logistics, which Captain Mishra also mentioned in his address. IT is a very important tool for logistics managers, which is helping them to give service to customers in a better manner, and like container track and trace, know your container location inside the terminal, plus first mile, last mile logistics through reverse auction, where customers get the best possible rate and with best possible vendor through reverse auction that has been done by our company. Then one very important thing is the use of Internet of Things and artificial intelligence for terminal management. That is going to come, and it will be part of the smart warehouses, where the demand is there for warehouses to become smarter now, more and more use of IT, so that the manual intervention is reduced, which brings more efficiency in supply chain and reduce the leakage of revenue also. Plus, one very important thing which I would like to mention is the creation of material handling divisions in various container train operators' offices. where whatever cargo which is not containerized, how to make it containerized, how to bring it in containers for the ultimate benefit of trade. That also should be a focus area for all of us. Like to give you an example from my company, we created a material handling division and they were conducting trial for last 6 months. I'm happy to inform them that, inform all of you that now they have been able to, containerize the bulk cement. Bulk cement is a commodity which was being transported in specialized tank containers. Now we have given a solution to the trade, and already we have loaded 2 rakes, in which the bulk cement can be stuffed in normal containers, so that in logistics, as you all know, both side traffic we should get. If we are running one side loaded, one side empty, it doesn't become financially viable. So to make that happen, bulk cement is being loaded in containers by using liner bag, and in reverse direction, it can carry any other commodity. So that is also going to, revolutionize the logistics of bulk cement transportation, which, and I'm sure the material handling divisions, which can be created by various companies in their establishment, they will help them to bring more and more commodities into containerization. I would like to conclude by briefly telling about my company's future, what we will be doing. We have a fleet of around 370 rakes now. In 3 years, we will be almost doubling the fleet because we are seeing a lot of demand in the market, lot of unfulfilled demand, I should say. So we are purchasing more and more rakes, and containers also. We are more than doubling our inventory of containers, and because these figures I'm telling you to tell that intermodal logistics is having a very bright future, and there is a lot of demand in the market which we are not able to fulfill at present. And I'm very sure that the various sessions organized by NISA in this business forum will be helpful, and we will be able to focus on deliberations, and something good will emerge. I wish all the best for this conference. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your keynote address. I request Mr. Sanjay Swarup to kindly stay back because we have, as a token of our appreciation for taking his time out and as a token of gratitude, we'd like to present a memento on behalf of NISA. So request you to kindly stay back to receive that. And I'd like to welcome Captain D. Mishra to hand over the memento to Mr. Sanjay Swarup. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Captain D. Mishra also to stage. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Thank you so much. Kindly take your seats. Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, once again, welcome all of you to the NISA Business Forum 2022, organized by Northern India Steamer Agents Association and managed by India Sea Trade. So, I guess it's about time that we begin the first session of the day, right? To begin with the first session, multimodal logistics scenario in North India post-pandemic. Is there sufficient synergy? This is the question that will be deliberated here. To debate on this, I would like to invite our esteemed panelists onto the stage. I will really need your applauses here as I call the names one after the other, so save your applauses for that. First, I'd like to call on stage Mr. Girish Belwal, General Manager, ISGEC Heavy Engineering Limited. A logistics professional with over 26 years of experience, Mr. Girish is currently heading the logistics function at ISGEC Heavy Engineering for last 11 years. ISGEC is a multi-product, multi-location public company that has been providing engineering solutions to customers across 91 countries for the past 88 years. Thank you, Mr. Girish Belwal, for joining us. And now I'd like to invite Captain Mohit Chaturvedi, Head, India Container Sales Business Development, Adani Ports and SEZ Limited. Captain Mohit has 15 years of experience in managing ports, shipping, logistics and infrastructure industries. His areas of responsibility include supply chain operations, international logistics, container port operations, feeder operations, port infrastructure development, and management. Ladies and gentlemen, Captain Mohit Chaturvedi. Welcome, sir. Now I'd like to invite Mr. Gagan Clare, Director, Majha Transport Private Limited. Mr. Gagan Deep started his career with Citibank in 2003 and has accumulated over 18 years of experience in trucking management setups, container leasing, coastal shipping, and pilot road railer projects. He has also been a part of running a successful family-based NBFC in his early days, imbibing strong family values and belief systems. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Gagan Deep for you. Mr. Sunil Vaswani, Executive Director, Container Shipping Line Association. Mr. Vaswani is a veteran and an active member of the container shipping industry with over 3 decades of experience in leadership roles with shipping and logistics companies such as APL, the Forbes Group, Jardine Shipping Services, and UTI Worldwide. He is currently the Executive Director of the Container Shipping Lines Association, India. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Sunil Vaswani. Welcome, sir. Mr. Kamal Jain, Executive Director, Container Corporation of India Limited. A 1992 batch IRTS officer, Mr. Kamal Jain served Indian Railways for 25 years in various administrative, commercial, and operating positions. He has also worked as Chief Executive Officer in GTIL, Mumbai. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for Mr. Kamal Jain. Thank you for joining us, sir. Next, I'd like to invite Mr. Nanduri Srinivas, Director Operations and Business Development, Dedicated Freight Corridor Corporation Limited. A 1989 batch IRTS officer, Mr. Nanduri Srinivas has joined in DFCCIL in 2020. He joined Indian Railway in 1991. He has worked in important key posts of Indian Railways as Chief Passenger Transportation Manager and Chief Traffic Planning Manager. Apart from these posts held, he has also worked as Executive Director, Fuel Transportation in NTPC, Executive Director, Coal Movement, Singareni Collieries Company Limited, and General Manager, IRCTC, Hyderabad. Let's welcome Mr. Nanduri Srinivas once again. An absolute pleasure having you, sir. And now, ladies and gentlemen, with a lot of pleasure, I'd like to welcome the lady on stage. We have Mrs. Poroma Munshi Rebello, Business Development, Pristine Logistics and Infra Projects Limited, here today to chair and moderate the first session. Welcome, ma'am. Ms. Poroma has more than 30 years of experience in shipping, rail, and multimodal logistics. She has managed oceanside operations for APL for 26 years, including the busiest ports like Nhava Sheva, and was responsible for APL's operations at more than 40 ICDs and CFSs across India. From 2017 to 22, she handled the rail operations of APL Logistics through its subsidiary India Links. She is currently responsible for business development at Pristine Logistics. Ladies and gentlemen, with a loud round of applause, let me invite Mrs. Poroma Munshi Rebello to set the tone of the session and moderate the session. Welcome, ma'am. Before I hand over the floor to her, I'd like to remind all of you that when we proceed towards the Q&A session of the initial discussion, we have mics placed among you, all right? So we can avoid the multiple handling of mics. You just need to take a few steps, walk towards the mic, and shoot your question. Well, on that note, I'd like to hand over to Ms. Poroma. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you. Is the mic on? Can I be heard? Normally even without the mic, actually. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the NISA Business Forum 2022. I would like to thank Captain Mishra, the Executive Committee of NISA, all NISA members, for bringing us all together after a very traumatic 2 years. They have brought together the entire trade colleagues, and indeed friends, after a very, very long time. So welcome and thank you for being here. Without taking up too much of time, I have a very distinguished panel, and frankly I'm quite nervous because I really wouldn't want to assume any point. I believe we're going to hear a lot of very, very varied opinions and thoughts which will be very enriching because it really, this entire panel kind of spans the entire world of intermodalism. So we have rail, we have road, we have the DFC, we have the gigantic Concorde, and of course, we have currently the most gigantic CSLA on our panel. So if I refer to my phone, it's not because I'm checking messages, it's because of a few points I've made. So without taking up more time, I'd like to first go straight into our topic about the post-pandemic era. Does our industry, does our sector, have we achieved any synergies? So while we are all in the same business of transportation, moving cargo from one point to the other as quickly, as efficiently, as cost effectively as possible, the fact of the matter is we are also, we are collaborators and competitors. So what is it that we have seen fundamentally different in the last 2 years? One would have assumed that all industries across the world will take a terrible beating because of COVID-19. But can we in this room say that we have been badly impacted by COVID, other than, of course, the serious health issues and the tragedies which the world has seen? But the fact of the matter is, the shipping industry, the transportation industry in general, has, despite itself, and make no mistake, there have been heroic efforts on part of the trade to keep the global commodity movement running. But the fact of the matter is that there have been supernormal profits after years of supernormal losses. So have we then moved in the same direction synergistically? I will not give my opinion on it because I'm not here for that. But I would like to start with our first panelist, who is really the most valued customer for us all, one of the biggest exporters based in this region. He has faced several issues during the last 2 years, and I'd like him to lead with it. Girish, please.
Okay, can you hear me? Yes. Okay, I'll do it without this mic actually. Thank you very much, Nisa, for calling me. Let me just introduce myself. I am Girish Belwar. I am heading logistics at a company called SJEC Heavy Engineering. A brief about this company is this company was established in 1932, and it's a multi-locational, multi-dimensional, export-oriented company. We are probably the #1 exporter of sugar plant machinery in the world. There are not many companies in India who can claim themselves to be #1 in the world. We are the leading sugar plant machinery exporters from India, and this we have been doing it day in and out for last 40 years. Besides sugar plant exports, we also run one of the largest sugar manufacturing industry at Yamunanagar. This is probably one of the largest sugar mill in Asia. Graduating from sugar plant exports, we entered into the EPC business about 15 years back, and we are now setting up power plants all across the globe and within India. We have also developed additional specialization in terms of distillery, and our turnover last year was in excess of 5,000 crores. We have our plants based out of Yamunanagar, Bawal, Dahej, Muzaffarnagar, and on an average we would be exporting containers in excess of about 2,000 containers a year. These are all primarily 40 footers, and besides this we are also exporting goods through bulk and break bulk meals. Last year we would have exported around 50,000 tons from India. So this is a brief about the company. Now, obviously last 2 years have been very traumatic for people like us, obviously because, a plant or a sugar plant or a power plant, these are all long gestation projects. You get an order, say about 3 years back, you get an order at a particular price, those price remains fixed. And then of course, due to the pandemic, there were so many issues, including, increasing freight rates and all those things. Well, I'm not getting into the increased freight rates. This is applicable for all the exporters, so we are not the only one who are suffering from this. The reason I thought that I'll be able to contribute in this discussion is that obviously all my panelists here, they represent different interest groups. So there are probably CFS operators, there are railway operators, there are port operators, there are DFC operators. And the question is that are we actually working in a what do you call, as a team? Are we actually working as a team? My realization in last 2 years probably is that we are not. We are not. Actually, we are working in a direction which sometimes becomes self-defeating. I'm sorry I'm using this word.
No, please go ahead.
But the vision is we are not having a long-term vision. We all are working in silos, trying to maximize our own profits. Obviously, every private entrepreneur would like to maximize his profit, but at the same time, it is very important that on an industry level, we all work together. Normal profits, supernormal profits is just a part of the game. But it is very important that we align our working culture, working conditions in such a way that it aligns itself to the vision which probably the head of the country is thinking. That is Prime Minister Modi. Mr. Modi is, obviously he has come up with his plan of Operation Gati Shakti, but are we actually doing something in that direction? Because this whole thing, why are we doing all this? We are doing all this so that our exports become faster. Our exports, we are able to export at a lower price. We are able to compete on an international platform. I think that is the end result. I think that should be the motive with which we all are working. But the actions which have happened in last 2 years, some of them are quite could have been avoided. In the sense, I'll tell you, shipping lines are absolutely working in silos, in a big silo, and their attitude is like a big boy, the big brother. And to my extreme surprise, shipping lines in ICD are even working in a situation which might hurt them very badly in future, in the sense that they have introduced so many arbitrary charges that for an exporter like me, it is a very easy and a convenient decision not to ship cargo through ICDs. It is a very easy decision for me to send the cargo to port, deal with people who are in Bombay and Mundra, and I can have my cargo shipped faster and probably at a better price. I can have better connections to the vessel. This is one aspect. The second thing which I fear which I fear for people in, especially in North India, that the guy who is in Amsterdam, the line manager, he is looking at ICD North India as a small dot. I hope he doesn't remove that dot from his map. And if you know, it's a horse and a cart story. The moment the volumes dwindle or the profitability dips for ICD location, they are in grave danger, wherein a line manager might restrict imports into the ICDs. And the moment that happens, I think the whole trade as such will get affected. So I think we'll have to have a larger vision, because at the moment when because you know some of the lines are pretty skeptical sending cargo to North India. They say, Girish, why do we send this cargo, especially open tops? They say, why do we send cargo to hinterlands? You know, our containers get stuck. There's a lot of time which takes turning around the equipment. Whereas when I discharge at port, in about 20 days, my equipment gets turned around. So the issue here is that the line consciously takes a decision of not sending cargo to North India might affect this trade as a whole. This is a grave danger which I see in coming days. And right now also I can see there is a lot of mismatch in the inventory right now. And we have to struggle getting containers in North India. So it becomes very easy for us to take a decision just to send cargo to port. So are we, as an exporter, am I really realizing the benefits of a vast infrastructure which India has created, a good network of trains, faster trains which can carry big cargo. But as an exporter, for me, at the moment, I am not relishing the benefits of it. And this is one aspect. Very interesting. Today morning, in fact, there is a what do you call? I'll just take two more minutes. Sure. A very interesting aspect. Probably you'll be surprised. We have been conducting an exercise. We've got about 400-500 vendors all across India. So we are conducting an exercise of seeking factory stuffing permission. So I was reviewing some factory stuffing permissions. So one of the factory stuffing permission which I got, which I was probably reading from an ICD in Raipur. And that ICD in Raipur, that guy the customs who gave me that factory stuffing permission, you'll be very surprised. He wrote that open top containers are not allowed. Open top containers are not allowed for factory stuffing permission. I called him up. I said, भाई आपने ये लिख दिया, ये open top containers not allowed. हम तो इतने सारे open top कर रहे हैं. कहता भाई साहब हमारे पास कोई स्टैंडर्ड फॉर्मेट तो है नहीं, जो मेरे को मिला मैंने उस पर लिख के छाप के भेज दिया. कहता कोई स्टैंडर्ड है ही नहीं, मेरे को जो मिला मैंने उसको छाप के और आपको दे दिया. अब ये बताइए कि हिंदुस्तान जैसी जगह में जहाँ पे कि इतनी फैक्ट्रियाँ हैं, मतलब एक स्टैंडर्ड पॉलिसी नहीं है. हर कमिश्नरेट की अपनी वर्डिंग है. कोई कमिश्नरेट ओपन टॉप को अलाउ करेगा और कोई कमिश्नरेट ओपन टॉप को फैक्ट्री स्टफिंग में अलाउ ही नहीं करेगा. तो बताइए कितना बड़ा डिस्कनेक्ट है. हम बातें तो कर रहे हैं कि यू नो डीएफसी कॉरिडोर, मेरे ख्याल से there has to be an initiative wherein all these standard operating procedures should come on the table, and there has to be a unitization. At the moment, each commissionerate is acting on its own. So imagine I've got a factory stuffing permission in Sonipat for one factory, which allows me to stuff open tops. The other commissionerate is not allowing me to stuff open top. So there's a disconnect. And unless and until we, we clear these small disconnects, because it is these disconnects which eventually leads to the losing of cargo through intermodal. Now imagine if this guy doesn't give me an option of shipping through open top, my 80% cargo goes to Nhava Sheva. My open top cargo goes to Mundra. How will I realize the benefit of a good intermodal setup in North India? So these are a couple of points. I'll touch some of these points later. So this is my opening remark. That everything is fine, infrastructure is fine, but are we working closely with each other on an industry level? That needs to be, we have to ponder. And at the same time, profit maximization cannot be at the cost of trade. Trade is very important. So I would request, big boys, shipping lines and all people, that they must work closely, and so that exporters like us are encouraged to use this, this vast network which Government of India is trying to create. Thank you.
Thank you, Girish. Extremely well spoken, straight from the heart, and extremely valid. I think Girish is why we are all here today. Everyone on this panel, everyone in this room, Girish is our customer. He is the exporter. He is the one with the dream. And I believe we have woefully failed him. Is there no light at the end of the tunnel? Of course there is. The very fact that Girish is here and Girish is sharing he's urging us to look and to understand his pain. And I believe he's speaking for millions of exporters and importers based in the ICD. There is something very fundamental which has changed in the last 2 years in terms of shipping line operations. And that is, most of the major lines have moved to what is called line PDA, even though there are no PDAs maintained with anybody. So it's a euphemism for basically having a through bill of lading from the ICD to the end destination, which is fine. I must admit, when I was in APL, I tried to do this, so I really should not complain. But having said that, was the trade ready for such a drastic change in the last 2 years? Possibly not. Did shipping lines take exporters on board? Because the impact was to exporters, not to importers. So were exporters taken on board? Maybe by some lines, maybe not. So, and interestingly, at the same time, another difference which has happened again in the shipping sector is shipping lines have gone into intermodalism, the beyond ocean model. And most of them have aspirations to have 40–50% of their top line contributed from intermodal operations. Now, Girish, just to allay your fears, since this is the stated objective of shipping lines, the port-to-port model does not lend itself to intermodal earning.
I'll give you another example. Just one more example, it came to my mind. Now they're talking about intermodalism, and see how they're operating intermodalism. I will not name line here. Cargo goes from North India. It's a through bill of lading. And those guys say, no, once the container reaches inside the port at JNPT, it is then that my responsibility starts. The bill of lading states ICD whatever. So what happens is technically till the time my cargo is inside Mundra or a Nhava Sheva port, I have to actually plan my cargo so that it reaches just in time when the gates are open. The moment my cargo misses that gate, they starts rolling over. And when they starts rolling over, you can imagine one container costing about ₹1,00,000 per week. So what kind of intermodalism is this when, they give me a bill of lading, but they say, no, my responsibility will start only at the port. What is this? This is not intermodalism. This is sheer opportunism.
Girish, you're well heard, well understood. You have a lot. This entire room is full of shipping people who are here to address and solve your problem. Right? So moving on. Girish, thank you. I hope we have the time to come back to you during the Q&A session. I believe you have a lot more to share with us. Having heard so much about shipping lines, I would like to give Sunil Vaswani, who is representing CSLA here, the opportunity to reassure Girish and indeed the whole trade as to what shipping lines are doing and intend to do in the months and years to come. Sunil, please.
Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I thank NISA for inviting CSLA and giving us an opportunity to be here and to be able to put forward our views. It's indeed an honor to be a part of such a distinguished panel. And the panel is chaired by my ex-colleague, Paroma. So it's a pleasure indeed to be here. Thank you, sir, for your very well-spoken, very well put across your point of view. And as Paroma rightly said, you're the customer, so we humbly, listen to everything, whatever you say. We've heard you. But let me also take the liberty of putting across the shipping lines point of view or the trade point of view from many other segments of the trade. In the first place, when you mentioned that there is no, synergy between the groups, you may well be right in many cases that, we still as a country have a long way to go. But at the same time, pardon me, but I would beg to differ a bit also with your views, because there has been quite a lot of synergy, and particularly since we are talking about the last 2 years during the pandemic. I think during the pandemic, all these sections of the logistics industry did the best that they could to help the trade, and even the exporters themselves did the best to cooperate. So I think we did work in tandem as best as we could. Some of the steps that we took, let me start first with the shipping lines, then I'll go to the ports, etc., etc. But as far as the shipping lines are concerned, I remember in April 2020, when all this lockdown started, one time the import containers kept coming in, but there were no exports at all because obviously there was a lockdown. But the shipping lines still continued to call at Indian ports, despite, sailing out practically empty. Not only that, the lines independently offered free time to their customers, obviously because they knew where they were coming from. And it's not that the lines had been making profits. We all have been in the industry long enough to know that the lines also suffered their share of the losses, and they suffered heavy losses, due to which, you had several mergers and acquisitions, and even the 7th largest line going bust. And the downside to it is that over the decades, when you see the rates going down and down and down, and finally when the lines wind up, then when you have a situation like the COVID, when there's a sudden demand and a surge of cargo, you don't have enough lines or you don't have enough ships to take them. Now, had those lines survived, or had the trade given, let me put it the other way around, had the trade given the opportunity to those lines to survive in those days, rather than pushing for lower rates, today the situation would have been different. The same trade would not have had to literally be so anxious about space and equipment, because they would have been available to the extent that was required. But anyway, we are not here to discuss all that. All I'm saying is that coming back to 2020, so that's where it all started. We continued with our services despite the losses that we were suffering for every vessel that was calling. We started giving free time, and then while all this continued, suddenly around July 2020, there was a surge in exports. So there was a total reverse in the operations, and the imports, started going down, because obviously there was very low local demand. The industries were not doing well. The purchasing power wasn't there, and of course, rightly from a government's perspective, Atmanirbhar, which is the way India needs to go about, was kicking in, which was a good thing for the country. But from a logistics angle, it did create some challenges. So what we had is we had suddenly this surge of exports and hardly any imports. So what do? Then again, there was the same thing, that lack of equipment, lack of space. So we as shipping lines, we said, let's work out something for the trade. We went around repositioning empty containers into the country at a huge cost. In the year 2021, we repositioned 1.85 million TEUs of empty containers into the country. And that's what contributed in a manner to the trade to achieve or exceed the target, national target that had been set by the Honorable Prime Minister of $400 billion for the export. And I'm not saying that it was achieved only in value terms. It was also in volumes we exceeded, because I have the numbers with me. We did 18% more in exports than the previous year in terms of volume. Having said that, also as far as the new services that were required, because not only was the equipment required, more tonnage was required. We introduced new services which contributed or added to capacities by about 33,000 TEUs a week, which again works out to 1.80 million TEUs annually, to be able to cater to the traffic. And this, despite the fact that a large section of our capacity was tied up or stuck at global ports. In ports like Los Angeles and Long Beach, where the waiting time had gone to a month for a vessel to dock, the equipment that was going inside wasn't coming out. So in a way, it was contributing to the problem and creating that artificial scarcity. But despite all that, we did all we could to help the trade to achieve what they had to. Also, again, as far as our country is concerned, yes, as a country, maybe logistically we have still a long way to go, but the good side of it is, if you compare it to the Western world suffered more, or far more than what we suffered, because their logistics, everything was so tightly tied up just in time that there was no elasticity in the system. So actually the systems were breaking down, while we had some elasticity in our system, due to which we could all get together and organize something and somehow make things work, And for instance, our ports in India, the global ports, they were all suffering with this heavy congestion, whereas I think we need to give our ports the credit where it deserves, that in India, we did not face that kind of congestion. Despite all the challenges, the ports were functioning. Of course, there were challenges. Of course, there were challenges with the port. There was challenges with the trade. There were challenges with the labor. There were challenges with the truckers. Everywhere there were challenges because of COVID, but despite that, we never had that sort of a situation. Where did we hear of that kind of congestion? So the ports did function, The railways, they did function. And as Mr. Swarup pointed out, the several initiatives that have been taken, also which are helping the trade. As far as the shipping lines are concerned, I've already established what we did. Yes, areas where we could improve further or where we could do something better is, for instance, port charges. Yeah, when we talk about costs of logistics and all that, there are a certain amount of charges also. As far as, I'll just give an example, as far as Nhava Sheva is concerned, we have our port charges at Indian ports. I'm saying, now I'm talking about port charges at Indian ports, whether it's Nhava Sheva, whether it's Mundra, or whether it is Chennai and other places, our vessel-related charges are significantly higher. I would say probably at least triple, if not more, than those of neighboring ports. And that, in fact, does bring up the cost of logistics. Then at Nhava Sheva, if we talk of, we have a dual charge. We have a charge which is Nhava Sheva port charges, plus we have an MBPT charge. And this MBPT charge came into existence earlier because Nhava Sheva and MBPT share a common channel. And so when the port came up, when Nhava Sheva came up, they started sharing. They said, okay, MBPT, you also charge. But what happens is that a significant part of the cost goes out there without MBPT contributing anything to it. Not only that, they recently increased the charges, MBPT increased the charges with retrospective effect. I'm just giving you these examples which actually added on to the cost. And then you have the waterfront royalty and all the other stuff. So having said that, I'm not passing on the blame or anything. I'm not even blaming anybody. I'm just saying where we can reduce the costs. Yes, there are opportunities to reduce costs and to bring the system together. But of course, where we have contributed as a community, community as a whole, I think praise needs to be given to that. So these are just a few opening remarks of mine.
Right.
I mean, we can always come back and I can add on something
We
more,
will deliberate.
but I don't want to take on additional time of
Yes.
the other speakers.
Yes, we
So
have-
I'll end these opening remarks here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sunil.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Well spoken. Since you mentioned ports, I'll go to Captain Mohit Chaturvedi with Adani Ports. We would like to hear from him how he feels the port sector has contributed towards a synergistic effort in the last 2 years to keep the logistics wheels moving as they were.
Right. First of all, thank you very much, Nisa, for giving us this opportunity where we don't have to ask this question, I am audible or am I visible? So thankfully, I know for sure that I am audible and I am visible, coming out from the virtual background to the physical one. So thanks, Nisa, again, thanks for that. Thank you, Sunil, for appreciating the efforts made by Port. And I would also firmly believe what you have correctly said, that without the synergy, we wouldn't have been where we are right now, whether it is synergy from the exporter, which help us achieve the target of export target set up by our Honorary Prime Minister, by the shipping line, who induced extra tonnage, extra capacity, extra containers. I was with the lines before, feeder operator, so I do know the pain which we have all gone through since 2008 till very recently. So there has been synergy, and we as Port has been trying to facilitate as much as we can by giving a proper infrastructure, giving a proper support, whether it is to the line or to the export, keeping their containers in our port without any additional charges, trying best, having a good synergy with partners like Concord to have a first mile and last mile delivery within the stipulated time. And also, as we have been emphasizing, just to give you a small example of synergy, what we speak about, I think every crisis, the good thing about the crisis is that it brings the synergy. Whether it was 2008 crisis, after which all the shipping lines, they came into synergy. We see lots of merger happening, lots of partnership consolidation happening. Similarly, this crisis, I mean, I'm not really sure whether we should term this as a crisis or just a challenging time, because it might be crisis for some, but was opportunity for some others. You know, we have the maximum unicorns produced in India during this challenging time. So I would not, I won't be very sure of calling this a crisis, but yes. So just to give you a small example of a synergy whereby we were talking about IT, Mr. Sanjay Sarup and Captain Mishra also emphasized about the IT part. So we have been working with Concord very closely to provide visibility and cost. These are the two very important aspects as far as the logistic industry is concerned today. One is the cost, whereby we all want to have an optimum cost. I will never say whether it has increased cost or reduced cost, because every service comes with a cost. So it has to be an optimum cost. And second is the visibility to our customers. So we, with Concord, are working on a product which, as we are discussing, it has been on a trial with Concord, and thanks Concord for providing us the feedback, where we will be giving visibility to all our customers. The idea is the container, when it is picked up from the facility till the time it reaches port and it is loaded on the ship, the customer should be aware where the container lies. And for that, we are preparing a dashboard, which will be launching on 10th of May at Mundra in the CTO meet, which will be giving. And again, this is all possible because of the synergy, because ultimately we realize that we are not the vendor or customers. In this trade, we are all partners. So I cannot survive without you or you. And similarly, you cannot survive without us. So rather than calling it a vendor or customer relationship, I would rather call it as a stakeholder relationship. And this we have learned after this challenging time. And because synergy was there, we are here today. We are growing. And as Mr. Sunil correctly said, Indian ports, we were never highlighted for the wrong reason throughout these 2 years of challenging time. There were congestion in the best port of the world, the developed countries of the world, whether it was East Coast or West Coast. Now we are facing that in the most advanced port, so we say, Shanghai. Thankfully, India, we never faced this situation. And again, the reason was the synergy. Again, I'm a very firm believer, and since childhood, the one thing I've learned about Indian and sailing with at least 40 to 50 different nationalities and around the globe, one thing I have learned that Indians are best in one word called jugaad. That is one thing, trust me, I might be wrong in saying, but that is one thing which is a very, very strong pillar in running our country today. And synergy, again, this is just a better spoken word for jugaad. And this is a jugaad we could figure out, and here we are today. Thank you.
Thank you, Captain. Well spoken. Thank you for that. Yes, please.
Can I add something with
Yes.
him? Synergy is, when we have a same level playing field for all the players. And rightfully with Captain, he said. So I'll try and speak from the road point of view. I don't think the road gets the same level playing field as the
In fact, Gagan, I was going to introduce
Okay,
you after this to say that here we are all talking about the rail coefficient to increase, but we would like to hear from Gagan because I think the road transportation has been a pillar of strength during these turbulent times. Please go ahead, Gagan.
I'll just finish that and then I'll come to your thing. So I'll give an example from Mundra port only, and I think most of the ports in India function on the same parameter, 80%. So the free days for import discharge at Mundra for by rail is 10 days, whereas for road is only 3 days. And the discrimination doesn't stop there. The ground rent for on a 30th day for a rail container will be, I think, 196, and for road will be 500 rupees. So there is no doubt that railway is a rightful child and road is a foster child. So coming to your thing, can I use the podium?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Again, a very good afternoon to all of you. Thank you, ma'am, for allowing me to use the podium. A job post-pandemic requires us to be on toes, and I feel comfortable here. In my remarks, I will try and throw more light from the road perspective, and namely between pre and post-pandemic. The synergy is defined as an interaction or cooperation giving rise to the whole that is greater than the simple sum of the part. It's the power of a group to outperform even its individual member. Just as multimodal, intermodal logistics is only possible with seamless synergy between trucker, railway, port, shipping line, and various other stakeholders in the chain. In essence, a system develops a set of interrelated components working together with a common objective, fulfilling some desired goal. The need of industry is to reduce transit costs and transit time. Currently, just about 35% of the domestic freight is moved via railway, while 60% is transported by road. Our industry believes that the share of railway is bound to increase as more stretches of DFC comes operational and the more multimodal logistic parks are functional. In the last 2 years, the average tariff rate of transporting goods by the Indian Railway has fallen by nearly 20% compared to 2019. The vulnerability of Indian transport and logistic network has been widely exposed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The domestic road transport sector had declined by 20%, which had led to a backward movement from a stable to a negative growth due to inadequate technology interference and a lack of sound mitigation strategy by the government. This has been the worst phase of Indian trucking since the trucking slowdown of 1996-94. The overall domestic traffic has registered a negative growth of 9%, while coastal cargo traffic has declined by 20% compared to pre-COVID times. The cost of operation of a trucking has been under tremendous pressure. It would be rightful to call into a state of stagflation. The average cost of operating a truck has increased almost 50% post-first lockdown. Like on 1st April 2020, the price of diesel was 61, which is today at 97, and almost an increase of 60%. These unabating hikes in small doses are like a frog in a boiling water. And it's not just the fuel cost. The overall economic slowdown due to the impact of coronavirus, transition of BS6 emission norms in April 2020, the revised Excel load norms from 2018 was some of the contributing factors for the few consecutive years' decline of sale volume of new commercial vehicles. The commercial vehicle sales have had the worst performance in the last 6 years. Drivers' income have reduced almost to half, which has even pushed the helpers and second drivers away from the vehicles on a long haul, a dangerous and an unsafe trend. Recently, in the first week of this very month, the US government has announced special express visas for truck drivers. Trucking industry is very important for them as it transports almost 75% of the goods in America. But it took a big hit due to pandemic, which increased the trucking cost almost by 25 to 40%. I'm told nowadays a truck driver in US makes 150,000 US dollars, almost at par with an average technology guy there. If we collectively don't work in increasing the truck driver income, we will very soon have a much bigger problem in our country. The average monthly running of a heavy commercial vehicle has reduced from 7,500 kilometers to 5,000 kilometers per month. The National Highway Authority on April 1st, 2022 hikes toll fee by over 10%, which was much higher than the 5 to 6% annual hike in toll fees seen in the last 5 to 6 years. The NHAI makes annual revision of toll charges on the basis of December wholesale price index. And with the wholesale price index rising nearly 6-fold in December, the toll fees were hiked accordingly. The privatization of road assets by the government is also causing more tolls to come up on popular routes across India. This has increased the cost for transporters across the country. Everyone has a smile on their face just thinking about the gala time the shipping lines have been having since the pandemic kicked in. Unfortunately for the shipper and the common man, but fortunately for them, they have moved to be in a monopolistic position, as much as can be acceptable in today's world. Most shipping lines, if not all, are trying to move into establishing themselves as a multimodal service provider now. Unknowingly, the government is encouraging one nation, one contract policy. So here we are, transforming from intermodal to a multimodal industry under the umbrella of the pandemic. This can push MSME-sized service players out of business. It has both merits in short term and likely demerits in longer term, depending on which side of the table you are. I just hope Indian EXIM logistics as a whole doesn't become a monopolistic market too. Of course, having talked about various entities in the chain, we must not forget the drivers of these changes, the government policies. We can only urge the government to give an equal level playing field to all players for this country to grow. To put it simple, synergy means two heads are better than one. Synergize is a habit of creative cooperation. It is teamwork, open-mindedness, and the adventure of finding new solutions to old problems. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think you brought us down to earth. I wish there were words which I had, or that I don't think road transportation is a foster child or a stepchild. But I think in these forums, the focus tends to be on rail, but the real strength, as I said, the pillars which have kept the sector going has been the road sector, and we thank you for it. Now, I'm going to keep the DFC to the last because we need some good news at this table. So let me request Mr. Jain from Container Corporation to share what Concor has done during the last 2 years to facilitate movement of goods by rail and indeed by road.
Yeah. Thank you. I think I'm audible. Yes. Good afternoon to all, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I thanks to Mr. Captain Mishra for organizing such a wonderful session here and inviting all the stakeholders here. So we are meeting after 2 years here. India's, as far as the growth is concerned, it is reflected by the indicator of the increase in the export. We are having the 10 ICTs in this area, particularly in the northern sector, which I am in charge here. And in the 2021-22, it has already been mentioned by Captain Mishra that we have a phenomenal growth in the export. There's almost a jump of more than 30% as compared to previous year. Of course, the 2022 we have faced this pandemic, and the lot of economies has suffered during that time. And even during the COVID time, there was a synergy between the different entities of the this logistics sector, whether it is the custom shipping line, whether it is the road sector or different government entities. During this time, just I want to mention that the Concor has worked 24/7, and even the custom has supported. They were working even on Saturday and Sunday. And we have provided all assistance to our stakeholder, to the exporter, to the shipping lines. Of course, the many offices during that time has stopped working, and they were working from home. In this particular sector, it has basically, we have learned a lot from this COVID time, and people have started using the IT. Even the Container Corporation has introduced online facilities to facilitate the customer so that they will not get any difficulties. And it has already been mentioned by our directors that during this time we have done a lot for the customer. We are planning for just doubling our rolling stock. We are increasing our domestic containers fleet from present 30,000 to almost more than double. And we are entering into not only the piecemeal stuffing, but also the bulk loading. That is the cement, food grain we were already doing, and we have started doing the cement loading in general purpose container in the bulk form. And already we have loaded 2 rakes. Now, just I will mention that during the last year, that is in 21-22, particularly the northern sector has shown a phenomenal growth in the export as far as Concor ICDs is concerned. It has seen a growth of almost more than 30% in our all the ICDs, and almost most of the commodities has increased, whether it is reefer products, whether it is a food product, whether it is a machinery, it is a yarn or other sector. Even the cotton goods, steel items, hardware, even the rice has increased by almost 351%. The bigger challenge was because particularly in the last year, the import has reduced and the export has increased because of the various policies of the government must have helped in boosting our export. Shipping lines were facing that they were not having the boxes for the export, so they have brought the empty containers to India for meeting the demand of the export. So with the help, with the mutual coordination with the shipping line, the Container Corporation has basically announced a very good scheme to help the exporters so that they will get the container at the hinterlands. And we have given the scheme of reducing our tariff of the empty containers to bring to our ICD to almost 50% to even to the 100%. So the shipping lines also helped during that time. They have repositioned their empty boxes to the ICDs so that this will help in getting these boxes by the exporter. And definitely, because whenever there is an equipment shortage as far as the shipping line is concerned, they always try that how best they can be utilized, how fast they can move out of the country, because that demand was all over the world. And because that many times they were preferring that the container, the cargo should come to the port and it should go back from the port itself. But because of the mutual cooperation and coordination, they were able to bring their empty boxes to our ICDs, and this has basically reflected in increase in the export from our ICDs. The Dadri and TKD and Ludhiana and Muradabad has done fantastically well. Even the two ICDs from the Rajasthan area, that is Bhagat Ki Koti and Kanakpura, they also have done extremely well. Of course, a lot of inputs have been given by the Concord during that time. We have introduced the first mile, last mile connectivity. The people, we were giving all solutions at one platform, trying to give the solution at one platform. The FMLM doesn't mean that we are starting owning our own trailers, but we were bringing the different road transporter to a common platform and use our facility so that they will, the exporters get, or the importer will get benefited by that. We have introduced our IT facility. Of course, we are introducing a complete cargo visibility by way of that artificial intelligence. It is under implementation at TKD, and it is going to be implemented at other sectors also. And the exporter is going to get the complete visibility of their cargo right from departure from their premises to coming to our warehouse at the time of stuffing, then railing out from that ICD. So that is going. I think they will get a lot of benefit out of that. They are not required to basically have the team to basically just to see and where their cargo is. Presently, we have the KYCL facility in our ICDs, where the shipping line, whether it is shipping line or the shippers, they can basically very well locate where the container is, whether the container is on transit time, in transit, or whether it is in ICD, and if in ICD, where it is presently, with its exact location where it is basically there. So the number of moves, and they need not to put their persons to just locate their container. So still, as mentioned by the esteemed exporter, Mr. Girish, lot of things is still required to be done. The SOP has to be formed as suggested by him, so that each and every location, the rules are not basically defined by the person who is sitting there, but it should be clear that what is required and what is not to be required. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Jain. We all sincerely appreciate the efforts taken by Concord over the last 2 years to help the sector. And now, last but certainly not the least, Mr. Srinivas, Mr. Nanduri Srinivas from it's a long DFCCIL. So now a number of us in this room have become rock stars over the years when we've made presentations to our corporate offices that India is coming out with the dedicated freight corridors, right? I know, I speak for myself. And we've had so many questions and very, very excited corporate offices in Singapore and the US or in Europe. But over time, our tone has sort of toned down a little because unfortunately, we haven't been able to live the dream. But I think we're kind of at the end of the road now. And let's hear it from Mr. Srinivas. What lies ahead? So please take this.
Good afternoon.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, everybody. First of all, thank you for giving me an opportunity to project the organization. Our organization doesn't need much this thing. I have esteemed colleagues and almost all the people have been looking forward to, and they are enjoying certain partial benefits of already the presence of DFC. We are a much awaited mega iconic project of the country. We started in 2006, the conception happened in 2006, but the first project got landed in 2013. I would say in a period of 7 years to construct a major railway line of 350 kilometers with ultra-modern facilities with all land settlements issues was an achievement in itself. We have started our first operations in December 2020. with Bhavapur Khurja. And then later on we have started Western DFC. Now Rewari to Palanpur, we have connected to the Gujarat ports to the NCR area. Our performance has been exemplary. During this COVID period, we got a big setback with many of the key project leaders getting into the problems, and some of the areas, the project leaders, in particularly in one stretch, and the entire project leadership has got affected. The leader has lost his life. So this sort of setbacks, we got a hit, but we are hopeful. Right now, we are on the cusp of opening up some more sections, and we are hopeful of completing this entire DFC in this financial year. That is, I think, the majority of the people will be asking that same question, when. So I can tell you this financial year, yes, we are hopeful of completing this. To come to this, what has happened in this period, I would only say that we have been the answer for many of the bad things which people talked about railways. Railways, goods train is always synonymous with a slow moving, unknown, unpredictable and uncertain, and the people have not been responding. So this has been the characters associated with the goods train movement in the country. Now with a capacity which is far exceeding the demand has come into the picture, then now the situation is we will be able to give you predictability, we will be able to give you a transit assurance, we will be able to give you whatever information you want in the click of a mouse. Now I have my heart swells with pride whenever my friends like Sanjay and in fact Sorensen, they keep praising us in the public fora. In fact, Pipava is one port which has become all electric route through, and we have been getting, and the person who is immediately clapping is Sachin, because he is getting the benefit out of it. Both container and other container train operators who have operated on the platform have reaped the benefits of the faster movement. We have ensured that the turnaround times of every train, every commodity comes down at least by 1/3. Now, after we started operating, first time in the country, the successful launching of transit assurance has come into the picture. Now, we are well within the transit assurance times. We have been given a target of about 12 hours for reaching from Rewari to Palanpur. We are doing it consistently, I can just tell you, because today morning only we reviewed that and we wanted to reduce it further. We are touching 10 hours, 48 minutes against a 12 hours target. We want to reduce it to less than 10 hours. That is happening because recently we started running double stack containers with 100 kmph speed. Now that is possible in DFC. Now this is the new thing which is going to come in. Now this focus of synergy, let me just tell you, requires energy from everybody to come in the single line fashion. Otherwise, if everybody is pulling in different directions, then there is no synergy. What we have been trying to do in DFC is also that we will align the energies of all our stakeholders. There is no customer or there is no, because we are dependent on everybody coming in. This is the platform on which everybody can operate. So we have been asking everybody, tell us what you want. We will tailor make whatever is a solution. What DFC has been looking at, Paramaji, you have asked what is the road ahead for DFC, what is this thing. We are going to come, we are the future of this Indian freight railway. I would call it as Indian freight railway, because today we have 2 DFCs under construction. There are 3 more DFCs under study. The DPRs are going on. The results are favorable. When we are looking at the total movement across the country, today it is approximately about 6,000 million tons of traffic. And railways has done only about 1400 million tons, and then we are saying that we have done wonderful things. There is a big blue ocean lying ahead, which has been going in the most inefficient way. I don't mean to say truckers are inefficient, it is costly. So what we need to do is optimize the movement. What the truck needs to do is the first mile and last mile connectivity, and if there is any other model which can work, yes. There should be an optimal mix of models which, with the increased basket of the freight segment, everybody will get its own share. We can't say that the truck customer is the king ultimately. So we will give him unique solution to reduce the logistics cost. Let me repeat, the DFC's mandate has been to increase the capacity, to reduce the logistics cost, and to add technology input into the freight business. We are succeeding in that. We have already created capacity. We are capable of running 120 trains each way, whereas we are hardly having about 40 trains. So there is absolutely no problem in meeting capacity for the next 10 years. If the Indian country is looking at expanding the economy to 5 million tons and to $10 trillion, we are capable of meeting that surge in the demand. To meet not only the capacity, but also the performance of the terminals, we are concentrating on establishing freight terminals also. In that, in fact, I can say proudly, Jain Kamal has said very clearly, the ICDs of Northern, we have connected to CMLK, their flagship terminal, in the month of July, last week. At that time, the maximum they could do, correct me if I am wrong, it was about 12.5 rakes per day. Now we are doing consistently 20 rakes per day. So this speaks the volume that terminals have capacity and we are exploiting. They are adding further to the terminals. The transit time which we are talking about is again something. Our average speeds on Western DFC is touching about 65 kilometers per hour, whereas in the adjoining sections which used to be around 24. Now, similar thing we are seeing. Everybody is talking about the coal crisis, but have you heard of Dadri, Jhajjar power plants saying that they are likely to shut down, which used to be earlier? I have dealt coal consignments, both as a coal company executive as well as power company executive. I have worked for coal company as well as NTPC. I struggled to get coal to the powerhouses. And it used to be a struggle. Getting coal to Dadri was a daily fight. It used to be a regular thing, chasing the trains. Now, the transit time from the time it is loaded in central coal field to Dadri powerhouse is hardly 1.5 days. It used to take 4 days. This materialization has happened not only because of COVID. The number of trains which have been introduced in North Central, they are all excellent. They have almost come to 70% of the trains. So we have the line capacity constraints in the railways. This is an accepted fact. But in the sections where DFC has already commenced, we have increased the speeds. It's touching about 65 in both Eastern and Western DFC. The transit time in fact, I have the transit times of the powerhouses, which we looked at because of the questions raised. They have significantly reduced where DFC has been into operation. So I can only say the synergy is coming in terms of when the customer's requirement is coming. We will be showing to the world that Indian companies need not think of just in time as a glitch. It is a reality. Because now we will be able to provide what you want in terms of movement. The time of input, technology input, we are coming out with the technology, that app of our own, which will be giving opportunity for any MSME customer to declare what will be the product. That will be picked up by our partners who will be roped in, and then they will be using the hubs, existing hubs or the future hubs which will come in, and then the commodities will start moving. The time going from first the customer to the destination there was a study which, spurs me every time I remember that. The time taken for a container to come from outside to the port is 1/3 of the time which is spending inside, going to the hinterland and coming back. We took it as a challenge that why can't we reduce this time? So now the exempt traffic is moving at a faster pace. Now, in fact, as soon as I came, I was very happy. Sorensen said he is getting the things in 19 hours flat. So he is monitoring how much time it is taking, sort of a model benchmark. We are trying to establish world-class standards in terms of the performance and in terms of the delivery systems. So I can only say right now, with the limited 1,000 kilometers which we have operated, we are trying to establish some benchmarks which will be a sort of a things on which we can only improve. We have problems. We have problems in terms of, like, we are only the platform on which things have to operate. We are the future for multi-modal, multi-operator regime, where everyone who is present here can run his own trains, can order his trains, can say that I want my commodity to move during this period to this period. As a practical experience, I can tell you many of the cement plants would like to send their product by the end of the day, and so that the next day morning it should reach the customer before the shop opens or before he starts his business. We will be able to provide this sort of logistics solutions. We will also be able to provide, if somebody is asking that my commodity should move to Mundra port, Captain Chaturvedi can call and tell me that my ship is waiting. It needs this. We will be able to provide that sort of a movement. Because the capacity is available, because the wherewithal is available, the trains are moving at unheard of speeds. And the performance is, we will be giving an access to each and every customer to track what he is talking about. I am very happy to listen that they are opening up this container and the Mundra port are doing this. We have already developed a situation where a live demonstration of where is the train, a live model of tracking the train is being adopted in DFC. So sitting anywhere in the country, I can look at the freight corridor, which freight corridor I am operating, where are my trains, and the actual speeds of those trains. So we have some bright individuals who have been doing it, and let me tell you, this has been done under in-house talent with no cost involved. It is done in-house. So we have such opportunities coming up wherein we can only think of improving our performance further. So I can only say, I think I have answered your question about what is the way ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Srinivas. That's good news, and I'm sure all of us in this room and even beyond are eagerly waiting both the dedicated freight corridors to commence. And as you have mentioned, the huge capacity increase, improvement in transit and so on, hopefully the economies of scale will also reduce prices for Girish here, because otherwise, if we have more of the same at the same price, exactly how does it make the cost of export cheaper in the coming years than it is today? So I would like to thank everybody on this panel. I think each and every member of this panel has raised extremely valid points. Gagan, hearing you was a pleasure. I think not heard often enough. I hope to see you much more at all our forums. Captain Mohit Chaturvedi, Mr. Srinivas, Mr. Jain, Sunil, and Girish. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you, audience. I don't know if we have time for a Q&A, but if there is, you're most welcome to ask any questions of the panelists. Oh, sir, yes, of course. I fear we won't have an answer for you, but nonetheless.
This is more than a question. I have a suggestion for Gagan, I have been a trucker, I am a custom broker basically, I have been a trucker myself. You are saying about the people moving to US, it's a fact. The owners of the responsibility lies with the truck owners, including me. We have no respect for the drivers, we have no incentive for them, we do not cover them by insurance or a provident fund or a gratuity or anything. I have only one suggestion to give. Every kilometer please charge 10 paisa extra and put the pool of this money into all these aspects and give it to their family. Because there is no second generation, the way custom brokers also do not have a second generation to do the business. The same thing will happen with the truckers also. So this is my suggestion to you. I have no questions. Thank you.
In the US, 32% of the freight is given to the driver as a salary. In India, it's only in Kerala they give bata to the driver, which he is entitled for 18% of the freight, because there are unions or maybe some other reasons. But in North India, it's only about pulling each other down, and I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. Maybe the transport forum or the industry or the association as a whole, the government needs to recognize it as an individual industry, not as a part of a logistic industry, but transport needs to get its own identity. Then only certain things can come up. Thank you.
Mr. Srinivas would like to share. Oh, yes, Mr. Kocha.
Sir, since we were expecting that railway freight will be reduced with the commissioning of dedicated freight corridor. From 1st of next month, there was some concessions offered by Indian Railways on import as well as on empty containers. Non-empty containers, 50% has already been withdrawn, and another 15% will be withdrawn after 3 months. Instead of reducing the freight, we are getting freight increase. My humble request is this, that freight concession should be offered, as well as empty containers are concerned, or empty running of wagons are concerned. These should be increased from 25% to 50%, which will be giving benefit to everyone. My second question again to DFC sir. Sir, presently no 20 feet can move on the upper deck. It is reducing capability as well as utilization of BLC wagons, and moreover now 25 ton extra loads will be introduced. It is my humble request that a study should be conducted to run even 20 feet on the upper deck. Thank you, sir.
I just wanted to answer, as far as rating policies are concerned, we are bound by what the ministry gives. So I'll carry your suggestion to Ministry of Railways. Second, about the studies to be conducted with regards to the containers on the upper deck, we have already requested, and the oscillation trials are in the progress. So I can only say that let the oscillation trials be over, then I'll be able to. But within our system, the 25-ton axle load wagons are running at 100 kmph. Now, we are having some constraints in that, because traditionally when these wagons move on the railway circuit also, there is a stenciling done that it is fit at 65. Kamal, this is exclusively for you. Please get that stenciling removed, because we are trying to move it at 100 and it is written there fit for 65 kmph, drivers don't go. Yes. So we are contradicting ourselves when we are saying it is capable of moving at 100. Yes. I just wanted to add one thing about trucking industry when it has come. We have actually brought in a system of trucks on train, wherein it used to be called as RoRo. We have renamed it as trucks on train because the RoRo name did not suit it. In common parlance, for me, a non-Hindi speaking person, RoRo sounded very, it's a crying baby. I don't want to do it. I said it's like a tiny tot, we have to nurture this industry, so we put it as a tot, trucks on train. We have adopted this trucks on train as an iconic game changer model, because each MSME, when he is sending only about 40-50 tons of material to the customer, he doesn't want to take a full container, because he cannot afford to have the containers, part containers and all that, or he doesn't want to go to that aggregator What he wants is, let my truck go, that's faster for me, which is right. So we started this project and now it is becoming a very popular concept. What we did was, the drivers, instead of sitting in that truck, we said we attached a coach there and we told them, lock your truck and then go back and take rest, so that when it comes to the destination, you come and take it. This is a concept which is now going to be a game changer. Indian Railways is coming out with the policy of adopting this truck as a commodity in the rating structure and giving a classification to this. So this is what we are going to do. Second, we have been encouraging people who are coming with limited, because as I said, the blue ocean of smalls and less than train loads consignments, which we wanted to concentrate as conventional, non-conventional traffic, we looked at bringing in certain things like road railers and rail runners. Manish, if I am right. So we are asking them to come and do this business and asking the customers to come into that sort of system, which we feel is the future of this. So that time we feel that trucking industry will get the benefit. It is not that we want to grow at the cost of the trucking business. We want to grow in collaboration, because the new paradigm is that to collaborate or die. We don't want to be a sort of a monolith, which we want to grow with the industry. So as I said, the basket will expand. When it goes to 10 trillion economy, we will find there will be requirement of trucks to bridge, and there will be a cheaper platform which will go with efficient and cheaper logistics solution. Thank you. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Mr. Srinivas. I have one. Gagan, go ahead. Go ahead.
If you allow, I can give two
Yes.
suggestions to sir.
Yes.
In the present RoRo, the concept, there are two, the 52 feet long vehicle cannot be loaded right now. It is, I think, limited to about 46 or 43. So maybe a 40 feet trailer, 40 feet container cannot go into that. Secondly, I may be wrong, the average freight for 700 kilometers between Rewari and Palanpur, what you are charging is somewhere about 30,000 rupees. Somewhere, maybe. The end selling price.
That's what trade offered us.
Yeah, whatever the trade offer. So that is somewhere about 39 to 40 kilometer, whereas the operating cost of a truck is presently about 43 rupees a kilometer. So there isn't much of a difference. Thank you.
No, time, ultimately,
yeah.
we are reducing the time by 12 hours.
Thank you. Thank you. One last point. Yes, please, go ahead. Could you introduce yourself?
I'll do that. I'm Rajat from Adani Ports. The question again goes to Mr. Nanduri. Sir, with this DFC getting completely operational, it is bound that with reduced transit times and increased speeds, the throughput of the track will improve. The number of trains running will improve. So is there any particular consideration which is being given once this overall pricing policy for DFC, once it comes up? Are there any plans for a revised pricing policy, or is it going to continue in the similar way?
As I said, the pricing policy is again decided by the Ministry of Railways. I can't comment about what it can be done there. But let me tell you, for all the new traffic which is not there with the railways right now and what is originating and terminating within DFC, we will be able to give a separate tariff, which we have given for these trucks on train, which we have given for certain new commodities which have come into our jurisdiction. We have given, in fact, Gagan, you said the tariff. Let me be very clear. What we offered for Rewari Palanpur for a truck is 20,000. When we went into the open tender, they have offered 28,000 to us plus taxes. So now tell me, is it my choice or their choice? So you decide.
Right. Gagan, you've got to think up a counter to that.
Again, it's a paradox. I will not comment on that.
It's an aberration. Normally doesn't happen. Thank you very much. I just want to request the DFC, Mr. Srinivas. There are a number of private operators who have also invested in land, some along your track, some not. I'm sure we would all appreciate an equal level of energy and focus on developing tracks and developing access to those facilities as well, and not just restricted, with all due respect, to Concord, Adani, and so on, right?
We have a level playing field. We have a level playing field in such a way. Yeah, we have a level playing field. We have offered, when we did the RFP for private freight terminal development, we have said that if anybody requires land to be given, acquired for connectivity, we will acquire on their behalf as a special railway project. We are not leaving them at there. This is applicable to everybody. Anybody who wants to get connected, ask for connectivity portion to be given, we are acquiring that. That beneficiary, first beneficiary is NICDC and one or two RFP customers who have come through. We are doing it. In fact, I see Mr. Murli, who is here from JM Bakshi. They have a problem in Ateli. We are going out of the way to solve. It was rejected that we can't tamper with the existing infrastructure, but we are saying, okay, we will go ahead and do it. We are trying to do some of the things out of the way also. So we will try to get solutions in such a way that anybody who has land and wants to get connected to us, we will give that all the possible facilitation irrespective. It is not necessarily for Container Corporation or for Adani. It is for everybody who is coming. Yes, all are welcome. We don't discriminate.
Okay, thank you so much on that very encouraging note. And if there are no more questions, we will take your leave. Thank you very much, everyone. A big round of applause to the panelists.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And yes, a big round of applause for Paroma ma'am as well, because it's not easy to moderate these gentlemen on time. She managed to just, make them complete on the spot. So thank you so much, ma'am, for that. And thank you, gentlemen, for all your valuable insights. And now, ladies and gentlemen, before we break for tea, we'd like to, give away token of our appreciation and love to all the panelists out here. And to do the honors, I'd like to invite on stage Mr. Neelkant Gumala, Executive Member of NISA, to kindly come on stage and give away mementos to all the panelists of our first session. To all the panelists, as and when I call the name, I request you to kindly step forward so that, we can get a good capture of your, of the picture as well. First, I'd like to invite Mr. Gagan Clare. May I request you to kindly come forward and receive, so you can step forward to the center. Yes. Thank you so much. Captain Mohit Chaturvedi. Thank you so much, sir. Mr. Nanduri Srinivas. Thank you so much, sir. And now Mr. Kamal Jain. Thank you so much, Mr. Sunil Vaswani. Thank you so much, sir. Mr. Girish Belwal. Thank you so much. And now to the moderator of the session, Mrs. Paroma Munshi Rebello. May I request her to kindly step forward? Thank you so much. So nice to hear you. Careful. Thank you so much, ma'am. And sir, kindly stay back because I'd like to request all the panelists to pose with you for a quick click. So yes, may I request all the panelists to kindly step forward and pose for a picture with Shri Neelkant Gumala, all of them. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for the first panel discussion and all the panelists who made it so enriching. Yes, sir. That was the first session of the NISA Annual Business Forum 2022. Thank you so much. The session was on multimodal logistics scenario in North India post-pandemic. Thank you so much all panelists for providing your valuable insights. Now, ladies and gentlemen, a very, very important announcement before you leave. I know you're all raring to have that cup of tea or coffee, but kindly come back in 30 minutes because we have the second session beginning in 30 minutes from now. So I'm expecting to see all of you on the other side of a half-an-hour break. Please take a quick 30 minutes break and get back into the hall. Thank you so much, all of you.